Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the sources you share with us and distill them down to the critical insights you need.
Hello.
Today, we're taking on a deep dive that is, well, it's incredibly personal, yet it's all rooted in this piece of ancient wisdom.
It really is.
We're talking about how people navigate unavoidable challenges, unavoidable suffering, especially when that suffering seems to be, a permanent part of life.
And this is very focused mission. Our source material today is a theological reflection, and it's drawn from one of the most famous and I think often misunderstood verses in the New Testament.
Okay.
We're talking about the Apostle Paul's experience with his thorn in the flesh from 2 Corinthians chapter 12.
Right. And the goal here, the mission, is to get past just the story itself and really understand the practical choices the source says are available to you, the listener, when you're facing that kind of pain.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because the way the source frames this conversation is, I think, really crucial. It's not just about what Paul endured. It's about the fact that the suffering was, well, it was allowed into his life. The whole conversation is about the choices you have when that happens.
That's it, precisely.
Yeah.
And the core text, 2 Corinthians 12.7, is where Paul introduces this thorn. And the language he uses is just, it's so powerful right away.
Yeah, he calls it a messenger of Satan.
A messenger of Satan sent to harass him. I mean, that suggests a pain that wasn't just a passive illness, but something active, a persistent attack.
That really grabs your attention, doesn't it? It's not a simple inconvenience. It's this targeted campaign of agony, maybe physical, maybe emotional, who knows?
It could be both. But then the source material just throws in this incredible paradoxical twist.
Which is that the harassment was allowed for his own protection.
Right. That's where the real insight is. The purpose cited in the source for this thorn isn't punitive at all. It's not a punishment.
It's preventative.
Yes, preventative.
Yeah.
Paul had just received these profound revelations, and the source explains the thorn was given to keep him from becoming, and this is the quote, overly self-exalted.
Conceited.
Conceited, exactly. The thorn was a necessary counterweight to his incredible spiritual success.
So functionally, it's a painful prevention mechanism. It's like a spiritual governor on an engine, keeping the ego from redlining on pride.
And pride, the source implies, is a much more dangerous spiritual disease than any physical ailment could ever be.
Absolutely. The argument is that self-exaltation, that pride, it leads to a total spiritual derailment. It just ruins the soul. Whereas
a physical affliction, however painful, it only affects the body, the temporary mind. So if the choice is between preserving the soul from pride and removing physical pain,
the source is clear. The protective suffering is the better path.
It is. And that's why the source doesn't really get bogged down in what the thorn actually was. People have speculated for centuries. Was it malaria, bad eyesight, something else?
But it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. What matters is its function. Through it, Paul learned absolute reliance. It shifted his dependence from himself to God.
And that functionality is what translates to you, the listener. It sets up this core tension. If suffering is allowed, and maybe it even has a purpose, how do you handle it?
Which leads us right to the four choices the source identifies, the different roads people take.
And if suffering is a given, it's our reaction that determines everything. Let's dig into those choices.
Okay, so the first two choices, according to the source, are the destructive paths, the ones people often, wander down first.
And choice number one is probably the most instinctive reaction to pain. It's bitterness and blame.
Right. When people choose this path, they just get bitter. They focus on what they've lost. They feel like their freedom, their enjoyment, it's all been stripped away.
They see God or fate or whatever as a thief.
And that bitterness is like a poison. It just corrodes everything inside them. They refuse to even look for any potential purpose in the pain. It's all just loss.
Okay, so then there's choice two, giving up.
And these are the people who, instead of becoming actively bitter, they just abandon hope.
They check out.
They check out entirely. They stop fighting, but not in a good way. It's a defeated way. And so they don't gain anything from the experience because the suffering just washes over them and leaves them empty.
No growth, no resilience, just depleted.
Exactly. Now, choice three is really important because it's a trap that we often mistake for a virtue.
This is the gritting teeth and sheer endurance one.
Yes. And this person is often admired, right? They're the tough one, determined to just endure, fighting the pain every single day with their own willpower.
That sounds like resilience. What's wrong with that? Why does the source warn against it?
Because the source is very clear. Just enduring with gritted teeth, relying only on your own human strength, is unsustainable.
It's a finite resource.
It is. It eventually drains their strength day after day, and it leads to total spiritual, even physical, collapse over time. It's like trying to paddle a canoe upstream against a powerful current forever.
You can do it for a while.
But exhaustion is guaranteed.
So it's not about not struggling, it's about how you struggle. If choice 3 is paddling under your own power, what is Paul's path, choice 4?
Choice 4 is the positive path. It's learning to rely on God through the experience. This is where the whole thing resolves.
Okay.
Instead of fighting the thorn with your own finite strength or becoming bitter, you redirect that energy toward dependence on something bigger than yourself.
The pain is still there.
The pain remains, but the source of your strength to deal with it changes. It's the difference between trying to power the boat yourself and hoisting a sail to catch a wind you can't generate.
It's a redirection of energy. That makes sense. It's about seeing the pain as something allowed for a purpose, not just something to be suppressed.
It transforms enduring into relying.
Okay, so let's turn to the big question that always comes up here. Prayer. Paul prayed 3 times for the thorn to be removed. Was he wrong to do that? What does this tell us about prayer for healing?
The source tackles this head-on. It says it is completely normal, totally appropriate for believers to plead with God to remove sickness. Paul did it. We're encouraged to bring our burdens to him.
But the prayer itself is right.
The prayer's right. But, and this is the crucial piece of realism, God's answer to Paul was basically, no, my grace is sufficient for you.
And that's a tough answer to hear.
It is. The source emphasizes that God is not obligated to heal every person who prays. Paul accepted that answer and let the experience teach him reliance.
Which directly pushes back against the idea that enough faith will always result in a physical healing.
Exactly. And we have to address this directly because the source makes a firm stand against the specific counter-argument you sometimes hear.
You're talking about the teaching that says a sick Christian shames God, or that if your obedience was perfect, you just, quote, absolutely would not get sick.
Yes. The source material refutes that directly. It argues very emphatically that this idea is not found in the Bible. And this is a really crucial distinction for you, the listener.
So what's the historical context they use to make that point?
They draw a very sharp line between the Old and New Testaments. The source points out that, yes, the Old Testament did promise the ancient Israelites special blessings and physical protection if they were obedient.
You see that in places like Deuteronomy.
Right. But the New Testament, which is the context for belief now, never promises believers an exemption from sickness or suffering.
That is a huge piece of context. Believers aren't promised a life without thorns. In fact, suffering is often presented as, well, part of the deal.
It is.
So, if we accept that thorns are real and might be permanent, how do we apply this today? What do our personal thorns even look like?
And this is where the source gets so practical, using these wonderful, relatable analogies to pull this concept into your modern life.
Right. A thorn isn't always some dramatic disease.
No, it can be a long-term personal flaw, an irritating habit, a minor physical annoyance that just keeps you in check.
I thought the pastor's personal story in the source was so relatable. His own thorn was feeling inferior because he was short. He envied his tall classmates.
And the power of that analogy is the mental shift he eventually made. He felt this constant irritation, but then he realized, wait, being a minister relies on verbal service and spiritual knowledge, not height.
So the thorn actually forced him to develop skills in the area that truly mattered for his calling.
It turned a perceived weakness into a focused strength. And it was a useful distraction from getting prideful in other areas.
That's a powerful reframing, but then we get to the really strange one, the mosquito analogy.
Yes, this comes from his mother's wisdom. And the reflection is this. When a mosquito lands on you, what do?
You slap yourself.
You slap yourself. It's a painful, self-inflicted action to get rid of a tiny irritant. And this awkward self-slap is described as God's way of prompting immediate internal reflection.
Walk me through that. Why a painful self-slap?
Because the slap is instant, and it's a reaction to a small, sudden irritation. It suggests that these immediate discomforts in life, an unexpected sting, a sudden feeling of unease, can be cues.
Cues to be more careful.
To be more careful, to prevent a far worse outcome. The source says it prevents the arrogance, madness, or greed that we often ignore when we think we're doing just fine.
So the little irritant triggers a necessary self-correction. A quick, painful adjustment.
A sudden reminder to adjust your course. And the source then extends this to modern life. to our everyday thorns.
Like bad advertisements, billboards, tempting content online.
Exactly. These things are everywhere. They are pervasive, constant, low-level irritations or temptations.
So they act as this continuous friction. And the question becomes, do you stop and recognize the irritant as a prompt to move away, or are you drawn in?
And that leads to the final, and I think most memorable, analogy in the entire deep dive.
The thorn as a safety mechanism.
An essential one. The source describes Paul having the thorn as being like having an essential brake while driving a car.
Which sounds counterintuitive, right? You'd think a life of faith would be about acceleration, not brakes.
It does, but this brake, it helps keep the car steady on the right track. The source suggests that without it, you're driving a life sports car, wildly, propelled by success and revelation.
And you risk derailing yourself, crashing through pride or ambition.
The thorn is the friction necessary for control. It stops the driver from forgetting they're human and fallible.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? The source really forces you to do a kind of personal inventory?
It does. First, you have to look internally. Do you have a minor ailment, a character flaw, some long-term irritation that you see as being allowed into your life? How are you actively responding to it?
Second, we have to challenge our assumptions about suffering. The source suggests it's often protection, not punishment. Why might a higher power allow good people to suffer for long periods? It makes you redefine what a blessing even is.
And finally, and this is the really tough one, the practical question. What principle guides your decision on whether you keep praying for something to be removed or whether you start to accept it as a thorn?
A protective element you have to embrace.
That decision point right there requires some deep reflection.
That decision is everything.
And if we pull back, the sources suggest that true strength isn't about being exempt from pain. It's found in recognizing that the pain itself, the thorn, could be the very thing protecting you from a much more dangerous downfall.
It's mercy disguised as affliction.
That's a great way to put it.
So considering that idea of the thorn as an essential brake, here's something to mull over this week. What seemingly minor long-term irritation in your life, which you consistently try to eliminate or ignore, might actually be the mechanism preventing your personal life sports car from crashing. Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.